So some books I bring to you guys are books that I read a while ago, and some are ones that I just recently finished. I wasn't planning on doing this video for a little while, but since I presented you guys with Ready Player One recently, I figured it would make sense just because I just finished it to present you guys with Ready Player Two. Ready Player One was, of course, the big box office movie, and it's a New York Times bestseller by Ernest Cline. And Ready Player Two is the sequel to that. So, in Ready Player Two, if you're familiar with Ready Player One, the main character, he starts out as the game's winner. He starts off as the rich billionaire CEO who's still a gamer. In this video, I do want to say that I'm not going to be ruining the plot or anything. I'm not aiming to give away too much of the book, because most of the books I do bring to you guys are books that I feel like you should read, but there may be a little bit, so trigger warning there may be a little bit of details that I divulge, but it shouldn't be too much. So to start, I finished this on January 9th, 2024, so just a few weeks ago. And clearly I read the hardcover physical copy. And if you're familiar with Ready Player One, which if you're watching this video for Ready Player Two, I'm sure that you are, there's a lot of things about AI in there, and then there's another thing past the level of AI, which is UI. UI is where you can kind of upload intelligence, not where you can kind of. UI is where you can upload intelligence onto online, and this is what the natural progression, at least in movies and sci-fi, is of how we can actually put human brains into computers and make a computer make decisions like a human would, or at least in the same type of mechanism as a human would. So taking all the information it knows and being able to make almost emotional decisions, that is what UI is. So essentially able to upload somebody's consciousness onto the internet. So in this video, when I talk about UI, that is what I'm talking about. I'm talking about uploaded intelligence. So in Ready Player One, if you remember, they had headset goggles and they had haptic suits so they could interact in the oasis in this alternate universe. And in Ready Player Two, they can now access the oasis with something that's implanted into their brain, essentially, to where when you enter the oasis, you can feel things, you can touch things, you can interact with things. You can't feel major pain, but you can feel all the good sensations. So you can imagine all the things that are changing in this new reality. And then of course the book gets into how UI and AI can turn against us. And my first main takeaway from the book is, how can we as humans ever trust AI or UI? Is it possible? Is it possible with what we know about humans, with humans being so greedy, with humans wanting as much as possible, with humans wanting to take as much as possible? How is it that we can trust putting a human brain with human intention and human emotions into a computer and expect good to come out of it? Good rarely comes out of the world in terms of full systems and things like that. Obviously, isolated people are good, but it's very difficult to make big groups of people good, or collective mentalities good, or productive, or positive. So how are we going to take things that are coded by people and groups that have negativity and all this malice within it, put it into a computer and expect things to be good? This is more of a practical question, but as I was reading this book, how is that possible? When are we going to see a movie or book where it doesn't all go completely wrong? And how is that even realistic? I can't imagine it. Maybe, I'm not the most creative person on earth, but maybe there are people out there who can imagine a world where this causes more good than bad, but I'm looking for that story, because almost every single story we see is frightening. This story is frightening about attaching emotion and emotional decisions with computers. It's terrifying. Because people who make emotional decisions, which we all do at times, but people make emotional decisions, and often those emotional decisions are very selfish and bad for many, many, many other people, or even just a few other people. And so when you multiply it times the power of computers, it just leaves me wondering how it could possibly be good. That's my first main takeaway. How can we trust the trajectory that we're on with computers, and how much power we plan on giving them in the future? And naturally, this moves into my next main takeaway. Is there a good way to do it? Is there a way that we can battle some of the bias that humans are going to put into computers, that humans are going to program into these different programs? Is there a way that we can kind of have a checks and balances system for that? Obviously, only the future will be able to tell us. They struggle in this book to create one. How could we do it as a society, as some of these things become more realistic, not just in sci-fi movies and in books? A huge major theme in this book also was what happens when your dreams come true. So the main character of the book, his dreams come true. He wins the contest in the first book. He becomes this billionaire. He becomes a CEO. And now what happens? What happens to your relationships? What happens to the people around you? And what is your safety looking like? Can you still enjoy the things that you enjoyed before? Is life actually better? Is life more difficult now? Now that you have more people leaning on you, your decisions matter so much more. So just as with anything else, as watching anybody else's rise to success, anybody else becoming more successful, it's always interesting what happens at the other side of our prayers. Like, when we really want something and we really dream about something, I think it's very important that we also dream of the negatives just to keep us realistic and to give us something to prepare for. I think this is for anybody else's life, my life included. I think when we have these dreams, it's important to think about, all right, when I do get, because when we're manifesting, like when I get what I want, I'm going to get what I want. When I get what I want, how am I going to handle it? Am I going to be prepared for it? So I guess my main takeaway from that is to be prepared for your dreams. Be prepared for your prayers. Be prepared for the negatives that come with it. Study up. Learn about people that have done something similar to what you have done before, because everybody's dream somebody else has lived out previously in some facet. So learn about their pitfalls. Learn about the mistakes that they made. And that's what happens in this book. The main character learns about the pitfalls of his predecessor, and it helps him not to make some of those mistakes again, but he does fall into a lot of those issues. So just another main takeaway for me. This really shows how fiction and real life are interconnected, because fiction stems from the themes of real life. And the theme in this book is when all of your dreams come true, when something you've been chasing your whole life is now in front of you, how do you deal with it? And the last theme connected with that is how money changes things. So obviously, not everybody's dreams are to have a lot of money, but most people's dreams, I would say, involve needing some type of money, at least. And if that's not a lot of money, it's at least more than you probably have now, or that dream could probably be a reality. If money is tied to that dream, and it's not just like a skill-based dream. But I'm not going to get off onto that, but I am going to say, I've always thought about what people, especially people who came from legitimately nothing to having a whole bunch, like the character in Ready Player 2 does. If you're not practiced in managing money, if you're not used to that influx in money, I feel like it can really cause havoc, wreak havoc on your personal life, on your relationships, on your friendships, on your family. So Wade, the main character of the book, he has to deal with these things. He has to deal with this sudden influx of money, this sudden influx of power, and being able to stay true to himself, being able to, as he develops his own thoughts, his own beliefs, stay true to those beliefs, regardless of the fact that he can do whatever he wants, because he has unlimited money in this book. And most people obviously don't have unlimited money, but a lot of people do grow and become bigger than what they started as. And what are you going to do once you reach that goal? And so it's like the last one, when you reach those dreams, but not just dreams, but when you have a lot of money, how are you going to react in that situation, and how are you going to stay as true to yourself as possible. Per usual, next I'm going to discuss who I think this book is for. And of course, it's for people who enjoyed the first book / movie. If you just watched the movie, definitely read the first book before you read this, because you'll miss some stuff, because the movie is missing quite a few details. But that's who I think this is for obviously, first and foremost. Second is fans of 80s references. In the first one, because the original coder of the Oasis, the world they live in, did grow up in the 80s, there are a lot of 80s references, and so somebody who would enjoy that would really enjoy this as well, because there's even more, I think, 80s references in this one than there are in the first book. There are so many 80s celebrities and pop culture and music and movies and all that stuff. So if you like 80s references, I really think you'd like this book. If you just like sci-fi, if you like that UI, AI kind of take over things, take over the world type plots, then I think you would enjoy this book. This is really my first sci-fi series. I hadn't read any other sci-fi books, but I am now interested in reading more sci-fi books from reading this, because Ernest Cline's got me interested. If you want to be scared of what AI and UI can do, possibly. If you want to read a tale of kind of the fear, which you've seen before, if you've watched a lot of AI, UI movies, I've watched a few before, you can see some of the pitfalls of leaning on these things too much, and the oversight of humans, and how computers develop and evolve much quicker than humans. So when somebody comes up with an idea, if that idea allows that computer to evolve kind of separate from the humans tend to not be able to keep up with computers that well. So if you want to fear that, if you want to be a little bit scared by possibilities of UI and AI and things of that nature, it's a good book for you as well. And if you like the mixture of sci-fi and romance, so in the first book there was that romance between Wade and Artemis, that romantic theme continues into this book. So if you want to get that tie of like nerd themes and romance themes, I hate to say nerd because that sounds probably bad, but I like this type of stuff too, so I'll be in that category. But if you like that, like that just sci-fi and romance intertwining, then Ready Player 2 is for you. Like I said, if you haven't read Ready Player 1, I really suggest it. It's a great book. Both books are pretty dark. Both books highlight the dangers of our world diving more and more into computers and becoming more and more relevant. I don't even think meta existed when the first one... No, meta didn't exist when the first one came out. I'm not sure about this one, but these ideas are becoming more and more relevant in our world. I think I saw that there was like a haptic space that either Apple or Facebook made. Don't quote me on that.
Walk on this omnidirectional floor in any direction I want. It will automatically do whatever it needs to have me stay on the floor. And what's amazing about this is multiple people can be on it and all walking independently. They can walk in virtual reality and so many other things.
But I saw that they're creating more spaces for people to be able to exist in this book. It's called the Oasis, but in these alternate computer realities. Guys, Ready Player 2, definitely a roller coaster. I think better than the first book. If they could do the movie correctly, I think it would have the potential to be a better movie than the first one as well. I'd love to be a part of writing that. It definitely seems like it'd be a fun book to turn into a movie. But guys, Ready Player 2, if you want a sci-fi book and you've read the first one, definitely go pick it up. I hope he comes out with a third one. I'm curious about the direction he would take it in to give it another new element, but I'm sure he could figure it out. Guys, it's been another episode of GP's Library, back with another book review. Go pick up a book. I'll see you guys next time.